In this nugget, we will understand how to work with multiple containers simultaneously. Before we run the containers, publishing a port means providing external access to your application. We will cover this in detail in the networking topic. Let's use the latest Nginx image to run the container. So docker run -name, we will give it as nginx_1. Host name will be nginx host 1 and -p and port number 80, which means the port 80 of the container is published to external network. This will be published on some other port which we will see later. -d is in detach mode, and we will use the Nginx latest image. This container is now running. Similarly, let's run another container using the same image, just changing the name and the host name. So we will call it Nginx2, and let's call the host name as Nginx host 2. Okay, if I now do a docker ps, we see that both the containers are running, that is Nginx1 and Nginx2. So this basically means that the port 80 of the Nginx1 container is exposed to external network 32769, and port 80 of Nginx2 container is exposed to external port 32770. So let's access this through the web browser using the external IP address of the Docker host. Okay, so let's get back to the browser. Okay, so here we see the Nginx1 is running on this IP and port. Let's access the Nginx2 container at 32770, and we see that it is also running here. Next point is to run a container from different images of the same repository. So let's go to the hub.docker.com, which is our default registry. We will look for the Nginx repository here. So let's look for that. Let's type in the Nginx. Now we will look for the Nginx repository. So click on this one. Let's get the details of the Nginx now. While we are using the latest image, we are using the 1.15. So we can also take an older version. Let's say we go for 1.14. So in the previous command, we can specify 1.14 there. Okay, so here we can mention :1.14 and call it hostname 3, and let's call it hostname Nginx host 3 and Nginx name as 3. Okay, so now this container is run using an older version of Nginx image. If I do a docker ps, we see that the third container has got started. Okay, and the port 80 of this container is published to external network as 32771, as you can see. So let's go to the browser with this port number and see if, and we see that it accesses the older image of the Nginx. Okay, let's make it as 1, and we can see that the older image of Nginx is also running here. Hello everyone. In this nugget, we will learn few commands which are helpful in inspecting and monitoring the state of the container. First is the docker top command. It displays the running process of the container. There is no need to go inside the container to get the information regarding the running processes. The top command gives that information from the outside of the container. So let's go back to our Docker host and do a practical on this. So let's do docker ps and list the currently running containers, and now run the docker top command with the container ID. This container has two running processes running right now. One is the Nginx master process and the other is the worker process. Now the next one is the docker stats command. This command returns the live data streams for the running container. These are primarily usage statistics. Okay, so let's get back to the Docker host now. And let's run the docker stats and the container ID. It displays the usage statistics for the container such as the CPU, memory, etc. And the third command is the docker inspect command. It provides detailed information about the Docker container object. By default, it renders results in JSON format. So let's go back to our Docker host and run docker inspect and the same container ID, and we will pipe it to more because it gives the detailed information. It gives information about the state and about the other container objects such as the path, the host config, the DNS restart policy, memory, the quotas. It gives the complete information of all the objects that are related to this container. Hello everyone. In this nugget, we will learn how to delete a container. Stop containers can be removed using the docker rm command. Running containers cannot be deleted. Let's go back to our Docker host and check the status of the running containers over there. Let's run docker ps. There are 3 containers which are running right now. Let's try to delete any running container now. So docker rm and the container ID. It results in an error. As you can see, stop the container before attempting removal or force remove. So we need to first stop this running container and then delete it. So let's run docker stop and the same container ID. And now the container is stopped. So let's run the docker rm and remove this same container. Okay, so the container is removed. Now once the docker container is stopped running, it will stop showing up in the docker ps-a command. Let's first run docker ps. So this container is removed from here because it is not running. Now if I run docker ps-a, you don't find this container even running here because it is not running. So now you can configure the container to be self-deleted once it is stopped. You can accomplish this by -rm option when you start the container. So let's get back to our Docker host and start a container with -rm option. So docker run, we will name as self-delete and run it with -rm option. -p at, and let's run it in the detach mode, and we'll be running the latest image of Nginx. Now this docker container is started. Let's do docker ps. As you can see, our self-delete container is running. So now let's go ahead and stop this particular container. Docker stop and the name of the container. The container has been stopped now. Now let's go back to docker ps. The container is not seen here because it is stopped. Let's do docker ps-a. Here as well, we don't see the self-delete container because it is started with -rm option, and that's why when it is stopped, it is also self-deleted.